Sandy Says Read. Welcome back to the channel. You guys, this evening we are going to do just a quick sort of discussion, not really a review, just a discussion of Persuasion by Jane Austen. This is the end of Jane Austen July, and I knew at the beginning of this month there was no way I was going to be able to do all of the challenges that some of the different booktube channels offered for Jane Austen July. No way, no way. So I just picked the one which was to reread a Jane Austen work. And this is the one I picked, Persuasion. I'm so glad I did, because I got to reread and revisit and just re-immerse myself in Persuasion, which I enjoyed. I love this book, right? I mean, we all enjoy this book. This is not a review of Persuasion. We all know this is a great book. We all know there's great, wonderful things about Anne in this book, right? So I'm not really going to review the book. I do want to talk a little bit about this version of the book. This is the Penguin Classics version. So those of you who are familiar with it, you know that already. Everyone knows these books. I'm not telling you too much that's new here, right? But I will say, when I was rereading this, I got to the point in the story where Louisa is like climbing and jumping up and down off of the seawall, and I remembered, oh yeah, this book is where that scene takes place. You know, this is the one where Jane's Marion Dashwood is showing, right? I'm like, oh, this is the scene where this silly character does her silly thing and gets herself hurt, and it's just an interesting plot device that Jane Austen uses with some of her silly heroines, right? Well, I wouldn't call Louisa a heroine. Anne was the heroine in this book. Okay, let's talk about this particular version. This particular version was published in 1998. The story, the actual Persuasion story, it's 250 pages. Now, in the front matter, there is, 37 pages of notes and introduction. The introduction is by Gillian Beer, and she starts with sort of a discussion or an explanation of a time of persuasion in Jane Austen's life, when Jane was persuading or dissuading a niece related to an engagement, a possible long, lengthy engagement with a gentleman. And that was interesting to me. I had not heard that story before, so reading that was interesting. I enjoyed that part of the introduction. And Gillian's introduction also had, I wrote down the parts. There was part one, Persuasions, where she talked about Jane Austen's, real life persuading of, a favored niece. Part two is Kinships and Commonwealths, where she, started diving into some of the plot items happening in the book. Part three was Plots and Property, happening in the book. And part four was Revision and Return, happening in the book. And that introduction really dove deeply into those devices that were happening in the book. So it gave away some spoilers, it gave away some stuff that's happening in the plot. So if you have not read Persuasion, which I can't imagine, if you have not read Persuasion and you want to pick up the Penguin Classics, whether the hardcover or a future edition, the introduction from Gillian Beer is really good, really interesting. It's an essay on the novel and on what you're going to find in the novel, and just some commentary on it. Nicely done. Did I have anything else to say about it? That's kind of it. It's a great story. It's a great book. It was published, in the year after Jane Austen's death, and it was published along with Northanger Abbey. So the two were published together. Her brother Henry oversaw the publication of the two, and they were published together. But for this particular edition, only Persuasion is in here. Northanger Abbey is not. That's it. It's well done. I enjoyed it, as most everyone who reads Jane Austen does. That's it. That was my contribution to Jane Austen July. Thanks so much for tuning in, you guys. Seriously, follow along here, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell notification icon, because you never know when I'm doing random stuff. Thanks for tuning in, you guys.